I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Florida Gators quarterback situation, not nearly as bad as we may have once thought at some point this offseason. We're going to talk about that here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to this bonus episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Thursday evening. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. If you have not yet, sign up for Florida Victorious. Just do it, just so you know. And if you want to save 20% off on your first month, use promo code LOCKED. And also know that if you don't sign up, I do not want to hear a single complaint from you about recruiting or anything like that. That's my approach now. That's what it is. Deal with it. But today we're talking Florida Gators quarterback room because I feel like you kind of need to. We're going to do these bonus episodes probably every Monday through Friday leading up to the game. So today, tomorrow, next week, and then probably the, 28th, 29th, and 30th of that week of August. But today we're focusing on the quarterbacks. Graham Mertz is quarterback one for the Florida Gators, okay? Regardless of how you feel about it, that's what it is. Billy Napier officially announced that last week, although we all knew for quite some time that was going to be the eventual announcement, the eventual decision. Graham Mertz QB1, it was clear that he was going to do it. It especially got cleared when Jack Miller III is currently out. He's not fully participating, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But looking at Graham Mertz, I don't expect a ton from him. And I don't mean that as an insult at all. I acknowledge he is going to be better. Like Graham Mertz is going to be considerably better than he was in Madison, Wisconsin. Okay? Everybody should accept it. Even if you think he's horrible, you should acknowledge he's going to be better than he was in Madison, Wisconsin, or you shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion on things. I don't even care about what you want to talk about with his physical ability. He's not going to be in a scheme that is intentionally holding him back at that point. That's why he's going to be better than he was in Madison, Wisconsin. That's my point, okay? Regardless of how you feel about his talent, he's in a better scheme for him and a friendlier scheme for all quarterbacks than Wisconsin Badgers had last year. So there's that. That's a fact, okay? If you disagree, you don't deserve an opinion. That's what we're talking about. And not if you disagree with me on anything, but this specifically, no opinion. I know that Graham Mertz, based on what I've seen from him, and I want to make it clear that it's based on what I've seen from him. I don't care what anybody else says, what anybody else has seen. I don't care. Based on what I've seen from Graham Mertz throughout his career at Wisconsin, I think he's good enough to not lose Florida games. And I think he's good enough to win with. Okay? He's good enough to win with. He's good enough to not lose Florida games. What I don't know is Graham Mertz good enough to go out there and carry the offense when the run game isn't working? Ideally, there is no game in which the run game doesn't work for the Florida Gators. However, Arkansas has a very aggressive defense, and they've improved. Maybe they stop it. You have to run into Georgia's defense. You have to play against LSU's front. So there might be games, even Utah, sound run defense for the most part. After the rough start last year, they improved. So for the most part, we're hoping every game the run game is going to work. If there is a game in which it doesn't, I'm not sold Graham Mertz can go out there and carry this offense to a victory. So yes, I think the Florida Gators can win with him. I think the Florida Gators will be bowl eligible with him this season. I think the Florida Gators could win 8 or 9 games. Could. I think they win 6 or 7. They could win 8 or 9. But I don't know if he's good enough to carry an offense if he needs to. And for me, that's what makes a quarterback like a good or great quarterback, being able to carry the offense if you need to. And I'm like carry, get the ball to your receivers if the run game's not working. And I truly don't know, but we'll probably find out. Like I said, Florida, you have to face Georgia, LSU, Utah, Arkansas, which if you're going to see a game where the run game's not working, it's probably going to be Georgia. In which case, I am not sold that Graham Mertz is going to be able to come out and throw the ball against Georgia successfully. But if we look at LSU, he could maybe do it. Look at Arkansas. If Arkansas can shut down Florida's running game, then Graham Mertz can absolutely kill them passing the game because they're going to play a lot of cover one. They're going to be very aggressive, man to man, and just let the receivers do their work and hopefully the offensive line gives you time. But I think Graham Mertz is average to above average. That's it. Luckily for Florida, that's all you need right now. This is not a team that we're looking at saying, hey, national championship contender. No, that's not the case. But we need you to be sure that you can get us bowl eligible, which I think Graham Mertz can do. I think this team is good enough with Graham Mertz to do that. I don't think he holds the team back. I just don't know if he elevates the remainder of the team. And so that is where my hesitation comes in with saying, oh, yeah, he's great. He's good. I fully trust him. He's going to be our guy, and we'll see how it goes from that point. But I'm not going to say that I'm fully committed to Graham Mertz being elite. However, when you also look at what's behind him, which we're going to do that in just a second, because you do have to look at what's behind him. But first, we are going to look at what's ahead of us, which is the football season. It's about to kick off for both college and the NFL. And FanDuel, for some reason, is giving you a chance to win all season long. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, so not the Jets, Bears, Texans, Colts, as much as we love AR, not the Bucks, as much as we love Kyle Trask eventually taking over Baker Mayfield this year. That's not a question for me. You can get bonus bets every time that they win in the regular season. So pick the Chiefs or the Eagles or the Bills or Bengals, sure. And you'll get bonus bets each time they win during the regular season if you bet them to win the Super Bowl. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Looking at what's behind Graham Mertz, we know how I feel about Graham Mertz. I've been very open literally since the day he committed to Florida out of the transfer portal. I've been open. I know generally what Graham Mertz is, and I know he's going to be better than he showed us at Wisconsin. That's my expectation. Behind him, however, is Max Brown and Jack Miller III, who dealt with an injury all of last season and is once again repping non-contact jersey in practice right now. It started as Graham Mertz is going to, go into this battle with Jack Miller III, and it very quickly became Jack Miller III is in a battle with Max Brown. And then it pretty much quickly became Max Brown is leading this quarterback 2 battle over Jack Miller III. And here's the thing as far as Jack goes, the best ability is availability. And he has not been available. Missed almost all of last season with a thumb injury, which again, he wasn't needed. But if he was needed, he would not have been available. Okay. So he missed almost all of last season, only played in the bowl game. And then now he's injured again in fall camp right now, and he's in that non-contact. Again, it could be something minor. We've seen this with Florida where there's a minor injury. Guys sit for a day or two if it's like a hamstring or something, and they just rest up basically and then get back to practice. But Jack Miller is not participating right now. So for me personally, I want to see Max Brown as QB2. I was a big fan of Max Brown when he committed to Florida after flipping from Central Michigan and Jim McElwain. I think that Max Brown has the raw physical traits to be a successful quarterback. He's got a big arm. He's athletic. I think that he's just missing the between the ears stuff, which, every high school quarterback going to college is basically. It's very difficult to know how to operate in college with the scheme changes and coverage changes. It's not as vanilla as most high schools are. So with Max Brown, he's got the physical traits to be pretty damn good. And he'll be here a solid amount of time, especially as long as he's also playing baseball here. So he'll be here for a bit in Gainesville. His biggest negative is that he's raw and inexperienced. The best way to get that experience is by playing football. So for me, I look at Max Brown as someone who I look at Max Brown how the Tennessee Titans should have looked at Malik Willis last year when they drafted him. Should have been, hey, he's very raw. He's got a high ceiling, but he's very raw. We don't want to play him unless it's an absolute blowout, which for Florida, McNeese, Charlotte are the most likely candidates for that game. But that'll get him experience in those games. And we'll sometimes put a little offensive package together for him. That's how Max Brown should be approached this year. Because with Malik Willis and the Titans, it was, we should do this because he's an eventual starter candidate. That's what Max Brown is. We should put him in during blowouts so he gets some game reps. We should put him in offensive packages because, one, he gets his juice in the run game from a quarterback's point of view because he's more athletic than Graham Mertz. 2, big arm, so you can run that option a bunch of times with him. Bring him in, let him run QB run option, and then go play action and bomb it deep. And he's an eventual starter candidate because in 2024, the Florida Gators quarterback room is going to be Max Brown, DJ Lagway, we know, as the scholarship quarterbacks, maybe Jack Miller III, who, again, I've said before, if he is QB3 this year, I fully expect him to transfer out after this year. And if Graham Mertz has a great year, he's going to the NFL. Probably. If Graham Mertz has a bad year, he's probably staying. But if he stays, that means he didn't have a great year this year. So it's either underwhelming Graham Mertz, who I don't think he will underwhelming Graham Mertz, Max Brown, or true freshman DJ Lagway. So at least if you give Max Brown some game reps, some live reps, there's a battle there to be had next year. So I look at Max Brown as an eventual starting candidate. But I think giving him the QB2 spot and giving him some rotational snaps here and there and blowout snaps, I think is a great way for the Florida Gators to approach his development and try to get him prepared for that QB1 battle next year. So for me, it's Graham Mertz, Max Brown, Jack Miller III. Those are my 3 spots. And I get it. It's not a super stellar position to be in. But again, you don't need someone who can just carry an offense week in, week out. You need someone who can not lose you games, successfully carry out the offense, and sometimes elevate the players around him. So we'll see if Graham Mertz can do that last bit, but we know he can do the first 2. So for Florida, quarterback, we're rolling with what we got. I'm happy with it. I'm content with it, I guess. But that's where I land on the Florida Gators quarterbacks. Thank you so much for making Locked On Gators your first or second listen of the day every day. We'll be back tomorrow with Brandon Carroll and tomorrow with another bonus episode in the evening for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, WNS_Brandon, X, Twitter, whatever, WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33, and I'll see you all tomorrow.